Good afternoon. The Secretary General and the President will make introductory statements, and then we'll have time for a few questions. Secretary General.
President Vučić, dear Alexander, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to the NATO headquarters. You have been here before, and I welcome this opportunity to sit down with you and to discuss the challenges we have seen in northern Kosovo over the last weeks. We spoke earlier this month about the recent tensions in northern Kosovo, and I appreciate the opportunity to meet in person today to continue our discussion. And I will be meeting with the Kosovo leadership later today. While the situation on the ground has improved, it is the responsibility of all parties, particularly the officials from Belgrade and Pristina, to prevent escalation again. I call on all sides to show restraint and to avoid violence. NATO continues to monitor closely the situation on the ground. Our KFOR peacekeeping mission remains focused on its UN mandate. Should stability be jeopardized, KFOR stands ready to intervene and will take any measures that is necessary to ensure a safe and secure environment and freedom of movement for all the people of Kosovo. Constructive dialogue is the only way to resolve differences in the region, and the EU-facilitated Belgrade-Pristina dialogue is the platform to find a solution that respects the rights of all communities. I welcome the next round of dialogue taking place tomorrow. I encourage all sides to engage in good faith, to show flexibility, and to be constructive. We also discussed Russia's brutal war against Ukraine. It is important that the international community stands united in imposing Russia's unprovoked aggression, and that we all take steps to convince Russia to end this war. The seizure of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant by Russian forces poses a serious threat to the safety and the security of this facility, raises the risks of a nuclear accident or incident, and endangers the population of Ukraine, of neighboring countries, and of the international community. It is urgent to allow the inspection by the International Atomic Energy Agency and to ensure the withdrawal of all Russian forces. So, President Vučić, Alexander, once again, great to see you here. NATO values our long-standing partnership with Serbia, and we will continue to work with your country to promote our goal of peace and security in the Western Balkans. Thank you for being here today, and once again, welcome to NATO headquarters. Please, Alexander.
Dear Jens, thank you very much for receiving me here in Brussels, and if you allow me, I would speak in Serbian language, and then we'll be able to respond to some questions in English.
I would like to thank, first of all, Jens Stoltenberg for wanting to listen to the position of Serbia, and this is not the first time, I believe, that Jens quite well understands Serbian, what I'm speaking, and maybe he doesn't even need these headphones anyway. We spoke about what was happening. We don't always have to see things through the same glasses, but what's important is that we respect KFOR role and the NATO role in Kosovo. And the head of the general headquarters, upon my orders, reached KFOR commander on that critical night around 2100 hours. I believe that impacted significantly to lowering tensions and to mitigating crisis in the north of Kosovo and Metohija. We will continue to respect KFOR mandate in accordance with international law norms proclaimed by the United Nations, and I believe that we will always be able to come to understanding and a desire of both Mr. Stoltenberg and the entire KFOR and NATO to establish peace and stability. I said that peace and stability are of utmost and crucial importance for Serbia. I do not like to put the blame on anybody else. Neither I like to use these childish stories. We're going to have difficult discussions tomorrow. We do not agree almost on anything, but what's important is that Serbia will stick to the international public law, UN resolution, UN charter, Brussels agreement, and everything what was signed. And when it comes to our bilateral relations, once again, I underlined to the Secretary General Stoltenberg that Serbia is a military neutral country, that we will remain military neutral, and that in that sense of the bloc division, we are not going to make any commitments. We have our history, which is not an easy one, which is not a simple one, but we do want to strengthen further cooperation both with KFOR and NATO, and we want to avoid any kind of possibility of escalation or conflict. We acted very responsibly. Of course, we believe that we didn't make any kind of provocations or incidents, but I do understand that all of us together from the Balkans really made everybody tired and sick of us here in Brussels or all over the world, and they're really fed up with listening to our cryings. But what's important for people in Serbia and for our people in Kosovo and Metohija is that we explained our position. I delivered a list of intrusions of special Pristina forces that had to have agreement on four mayors and NATO, which they never had. I delivered the list of all the incidents and attacks against Serbian population that has become frequent in the entire territory of Kosovo and Metohija, and it is up to us to speak about our position, but also to do whatever we can to preserve peace and stability. Once again, I want to thank very much Jens for wanting to listen to us today.
For some questions, we'll go to RTS. No, just behind. Thanks.
Question both for Secretary General and for the President. So, Albanian media said in previous days that Serbian army violated international law and that it crossed administrative line. Does NATO have any proofs of the respective? And for the President of Serbia, does aggressive behavior of Albin Kurti and the Quint made you to think about offered Russian base in Serbia? Thank you.
NATO's role in Kosovo is based on a very clear UN mandate, and we take that very seriously, meaning that our responsibility is to be neutral. It's not to be part of the conflict, but to be a neutral actor that ensure the safety, the security of all communities, and also the freedom of movement of all communities, including, of course, the Serbs. Therefore, we are very careful doing anything that involves us into the conflict. We support the EU-facilitated dialogue, the political dialogue, and this is underpinned and supported by the military presence of KFOR in Kosovo. So that's my main message, is that we will not be involved. We will be a neutral actor and conduct our presence there according to the very clear and strong UN mandate.
Ako mi dozvolite, ja bih delimično odgovorio.
If you allow me, I would partly answer the first question. Of course, Serbian army and Serbian armed forces and Serbian police forces didn't cross the administrative line in any moment. They lied like they've been lying for everything. Like they've been lying for 180 days that we're going to attack someone in the region. And nobody has said even once, we're sorry for the lies, because it didn't happen, it will not happen. I'm grateful to NATO because they did not come up with such untruths, unlike some. Regarding your second question, Serbia does not need anybody's foreign bases. Serbia is a military neutral country. Serbia wants to preserve peace. We want to safekeep our population, our country, and our sky. And this is how we are going to act in the future.
Drozdiak from Bloomberg. Thank you for the question. Secretary General, could you be more specific about KFOR's statement that they would be ready to intervene if stability was jeopardized. What exactly would that, when would that happen? What would that look like? Thank you.
So first of all, we have now a significant mission, military presence in Kosovo, close to 4,000 troops. And just that presence in itself helps to stabilize, helps to reduce tensions, and helps us also to prevent escalation and any type of conflict. Second, we are also the KFOR commander. KFOR is in close contact with the authorities in Belgrade, with the chief of the Serbian defense, but also with the authorities in Pristina, and having these open channels of communications is also a way to prevent miscalculation, misunderstanding, and to act when we have situations as we saw at the end of July. And then there was also again a direct contact between Serbia and KFOR that helped to reduce tensions. Then, of course, if needed, we will move forces, deploy them where needed, and increase our presence. We have already increased the presence in the north. We are ready to do more, but of course we will act when needed, and we will act in a proportionate way, because our main aim is to help to reduce tensions and to ensure all communities, the freedom of movement, the safety of all communities, including, of course, the Serbs in Kosovo.
Imam dva pitanja.
I have two questions. First for you, Mr. President. Did you get any assurances, and what kind of assurance did you get from Secretary General that KFOR in the ground will stop this violent intrusion by Pristina, as we could see in the past incidents? And for Mr. Stoltenberg, you said that KFOR will act when needed, having in mind that you have the mandate in accordance with Resolution 1244 to preserve stability and peace in Kosovo. How do you, having in mind all previous situations of intrusions in North, how can you guarantee the violence against Serbs? How can you react quickly? How fast, actually, can you provide that safety and security in the north of Kosovo? I don't know what to tell you. I believe that Jens's answer to this question is more important, but all of us see this differently. It's a different observation point from the Quint countries than us. They would say that the violence, and they will read what Jens said, that the violence is in barricades, and that the violence is not actually implementation of systematic implementation of true and actual violence against Serbs. It is the question how different actors will interpret this. What we signed in the Brussels Agreement is that their special forces have very limited possibilities to enter north. They always justify this with fighting organized crime, because each Serb that confronts them anywhere is a criminal for them. So Quint will always support that. They would always have their back for that, and we are in a very difficult position in that regard to be fully open. For us, this is a lose-lose situation. Simply, it's very difficult, but you know, when you've been put in the corner and when you have no place to move, to maneuver, I said this to Jens Stoltenberg and everybody else, please do not expect Serbs to enjoy and say how they're having really nice time. There is a new generation of kids, of young men in the north of Kosovo and the entire of Kosovo. They will not put up with this anymore, and it has no longer anything to do with me, with Jens, where we grew old. This is new generation that will not put up with the terror. They do not see Kosovo as an independent state like 22 out of 27 countries of the EU. They see Kosovo as territory of Serbia, and of course in accordance with the 1244 resolution in the international public law. So there are a lot of problems, and what's important for us that with the help of KFOR we should preserve peace and preserve stability, and we hope that there will be enough wisdom to reach a solution by compromise.
Is ready to act, and KFOR is ready to intervene, and of course we can do that also on short notice. We have the capabilities, we have the forces, they will be deployed where needed. We have presence already in different places in Kosovo, and we have increased our presence in the north, and there are regular patrols, including in the north. I visited KFOR not so many months ago, and I was updated in detail about their presence, their ability to deploy and to act and intervene when needed. But of course it will be proportionate, and it will be and it will reflect the needs and the challenges we face. But just the fact that we have close to 4,000 troops in Kosovo demonstrates a strong commitment and helps to defuse the situation. We have to remember now that the KFOR mission in Kosovo is now NATO's biggest military mission outside NATO. And at the Madrid summit, heads of state and government recommitted to the KFOR mission, and I welcome that allies and partners continue to provide the forces and the capabilities to ensure that KFOR can fulfill its mandate. Let me also add that KFOR, of course, works closely together with other actors, including the EU police mission, EULEX. NATO is not the first responder, but when things get really difficult, really dangerous, then we deploy and we act as we did at the end of July.
We'll try to take one final question, Politico.
Thank you very much. I have two questions. First of all, Secretary General, given the rhetoric that we've been hearing in the recent incidents, how do you see the level of risk at the moment for a possible escalation in the region? And then for President Vučić, Prime Minister Kurti said earlier this week that there is a risk of Russian involvement in the Serbia-Kosovo relations, increasing chances of a conflict. How do you respond to his concern? Thank you.
Of course, there is always a risk, and therefore it is important that we have the meetings taking place today and tomorrow, and therefore also welcome the fact that President Vučić decided to come to NATO, and of course also engage in the EU facilitated dialogue tomorrow. I will meet Mr. Kurti later on today, then I will of course, get his assessment. My message is fundamentally the same, that everything has to be done to prevent escalation. NATO will do its part by sending a clear message from KFOR, by being very clear in our communications that we will intervene, we will act when needed. The best thing is, of course, to prevent and avoid any need for increased NATO presence, but we are there, and just the presence and the clear messaging from the commander of the KFOR forces, from me, from the whole of NATO, I think helps to de-escalate and prevent escalation.
Thank you very much for asking the question. First of all, I don't believe that there are any kind of real concerns from Albin Kurti and Pristina side, and it's about political narrative, political rhetoric, in which you can use everything against the other side, and it's always easy, as you know, to tarnish someone, and for me it's even much easier to refute all these claims, because for 180 days so far we've been listening about Serbia's possibility and Serbia's wishes to invade either some entities, either some countries in the region, and that was going to happen 5 months ago, 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, a month ago, now, and it didn't happen so far. Which means that they were actually lying about it, and there were no rebooking from anyone in the world about this kind of narrative against Serbia, and it's always easy, just to use the current political situation against someone else with no real arguments. That's why I was asking even NATO to scrutinize the situation in Kosovo and to tell us when did it happen and where did it happen when Serbian forces crossed that, we would say, administrative line, they would say country border or whatever you call it. It means that what we need, it's a rational approach. What we need, it's talks, it's compromising solution, and it's not something and someone's desires to find solutions in which someone might blackmail Serbia or someone might order Serbia how to act, and we wait for mutual recognition. If that don't happen, then it'll be Serbia's fault. We found a culprit finally, and that's it. No, it doesn't work like that. We need to talk to each other. We need to see what would mean and what would be a real compromising solution, and we are ready for that. But for this kind of narrative and talks, we can just deny it. And I also know that we'll never hear a word sorry for all these false and fabricated claims against our country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This concludes this press conference. Thank you.